Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got another look at the Maass for you, the Tier 6 German Destroyer. I almost got Z23 unlocked, got maybe 10 more games or so before we get that unlocked, and then it's going to take a little while to upgrade. I will get some video up on that ship shortly though. Here we got a Haven Domination mode match. We're on what I would call the strong side. We have 6 ships that spawn north of sea and 3 to the kind of the west side of the map. The enemy teams, of course, mirrored. They have 6 ships below, kind of mirroring our weak side, and 3 on this side. We do have 1 battleship that's sailing to support the weak side. I don't have a problem with that play. It's not bad. He does ask for help here. I would suggest only sending 1 ship over to support the weak side. You don't want to have a big chunk of your team kind of moving positions early in the map. It kind of puts them out of position. You can also consider just kind of playing the middle zone between the spawns. That'll give you plenty of crossfire shots into the enemy. So both of those are fine. Again, I don't mind supporting the weak side, but you don't want to have a big chunk of your team moving, 2-3 minutes where they're kind of out of position, because that puts your team at a significant disadvantage on both flanks. But here I'm moving to capture C. The Maass is very strong at capturing objectives. I'd put the German destroyers kind of up there with the USN destroyers, potentially even more effective in terms of capturing objectives. We do have an Icarus moving in here to contest. It's a very hard play for destroyers on the weak side of maps that do have weak sides to contest. If he wants to attempt to scout this and maybe get some shots from his team that's supporting him, that's an alright play, but he should have noticed he was outspotted by me quite a bit before he was able to pull in the range to spot me, so that puts him at a disadvantage. He probably should have disengaged. There, those torps kind of scared him. He turned around and got clipped by one. I think what happened was that first salvo was probably so far behind him that they didn't pop up on his screen, or he didn't notice them, and so he might have thought there was another salvo that was leading the one that ended up hitting him, so he tried to turn away and ended up eating the damage there. Now, because we were spotted and we have these ships that were in range, we did end up smoking here. The King George is broadside, so it's a great time to pop the AP rounds and just pepper the side. It's kind of a hard ship to hit, just because it sits low in the water, and then like the superstructures are smallish compared to some of the ships. They do have that gap in between the two, so it can be a little bit difficult. But what you do want to be doing with these salvos is hitting that superstructure. You can see when we do land multiple shells there, getting pretty decent damage here. King George is an extremely dangerous ship for destroyers. It has high damage HE rounds, and similar to the Atlanta, it's one of the ships that destroyers need to be particularly wary of. He's doing a good job of blind firing the smoke. You can see he kept, I wasn't ever detected there, but he kept peppering me with salvos, so that's a sign of a good player. So you do have to respect someone who's able to hit those shots. And keep an eye on the smoke timer always. As soon as that's about to run out, I just decide to move out of there. I don't need to push into that position against 3 ships there. That'd be a kind of asking to be deleted pretty quickly. So I do get some torps. All of these ships are kind of moving back and forth, so there's a pretty decent chance we're going to get some sort of a landing shot in on those guys. And looks like we do score a few hits there. That ship was on fire previously, and then we do get a bunch of flooding shots, but he must have had a single fire. He did damage con that and put those floods, fixed the floods and put the fires out, so had he previously damage con, that probably would have been a fatal situation for him. Now moving over to B, we do move here to both potentially capture the base, and they do have 3 destroyers over here. They did end up shifting a lot of their weight over to their weak side, which kind of throws off the normal dynamics of this map. But looking at the team comps, if we're able to get these 3 destroyers eliminated and still have 2 or 3 on our team, that's a pretty much guaranteed win. They would have a cruiser and a few battleships, and once you take out that cruiser, the destroyers just can kind of go ballistic on the remaining battleships, and that's a fight you should be winning almost every time, barring kind of misplays, I suppose. But the Mayhen's zigging, he's zagging. But you notice the Maass is really nice, kind of flat trajectory shells compared to the USN. That's one of the advantages in most cases that the German destroyers have. Now the floaty USN shells can be nice if you're firing over islands, but in general at longer ranges they're a little harder to aim the shots when they're really floating up. That does add a couple seconds to the flight time, which of course requires more lead and gives the enemy ships more time to react as those shells are in the air. Now here's a Kid. The Kid is a very strong destroyer. It's one of my favorite destroyers in the game. It's especially adept at killing other destroyers, both because it's essentially a Fletcher at tier 6 and it does have a couple of heals, which gives it a significant advantage in any kind of toe-to-toe fights with the destroyers. So that's, once he pops up on the screen, that's definitely a priority target. And we were trying to put some shots over this island. It's always, of course, tough to sight those small little ships over the island there, but it doesn't hurt to try. Kid kind of pops out through the smoke here, and he's using his cover, gets a salvo off. But here's where the advantage of the German destroyers lies over the USN destroyers. We're able to pop the sonar, move in here, and push forward. He takes a blind fire shot once he sees our shells emanating, but you know, you can still see we're undetected at this point, so there's nothing you can do. And then the Jervis pops up behind him. Now he does have sonar as well, and counter deploys it, but you can see he's significantly low health, so we're going to get some torps in here just to kind of put a little layer of defense. All I really need to do is not get torped here, and this should be an easy encounter to win here. And I'm looking for his ship to turn a little more sideways. And of course, having the sonar deployed, we'd also be able to see those torps in the water. But that at that close range, even having the early detection would make dodging those torps more difficult. So you do have to be careful in situations like that. Now, evaluating the match at this point, we do have a significant lead in points. They are flipping C, which isn't the end of the world, as long as we can maintain two of the objectives. You know, the score is essentially going to remain the same. And we were able to eliminate the destroyers, and looks like someone took out the cruiser. So the situation where you have multiple destroyers matched up against battleships, not to mention having our own support ships in that situation, should put the advantage squarely in our corner here. And you see we have 90k damage already. This ship is capable of putting up a lot of really nice numbers. Compared to the Gaidi, I was running the 150s on that ship, and that's probably how I'd always run it. I just felt like that one works better. This one does have the smaller, I think it's 128s if I'm not mistaken, but you have an extra turret, and the damage output on this ship is very solid. I mean, I've been thoroughly impressed with the Maass here. This is probably my favorite tier 6 destroyer at this point. So if you're grinding through the line, this is definitely something to look forward to. I think the Z23, the feedback I've been getting from players in my Discord and seeing them out on the high seas, that ship also looks to be quite strong. Now here the King George that we were kind of dueling with earlier pops back up, and quick look at the map just kind of shows he's on an intercept course with our home spawn A. Now, you know, it's kind of imperative for them to win. They kind of need to flip another cap just to get the score going back in their favor. They're probably going to need to eliminate most of our ships, if not all of them, too. But getting an additional objective in their favor makes the odds of them winning go up for sure. So we do take a shot as we're about to go undetected. It does cause a fire. I'm assuming he has damage con available because it's a single fire, he doesn't put it out. But we get some torps in the water, and we do have that destroyer kind of to the east spotting this guy. So the smoke is deployed, and we're going to switch back over to the AP while he's broadside here. You'll notice as he starts to angle in here, these shells aren't going to be really effective, so that's when they're going to want to switch back to HE. Again, this guy is not shy about blind firing the smoke, and he proved himself earlier as being capable of doing so. Now you see here I kind of pop forward. The detection point on ships is kind of the bridge, I believe. So once that front part of the ship kind of popped out of the smoke, I didn't want to fire there because that would have caused me to be detected. That would have given him an easier shot to fire on me, especially if his guns were loaded and he was able to lock on to my ship. You know, selecting it, having that circle around my ship's icon, that makes the guns far more accurate. So you know, I needed to be extremely careful there to not fire when I was potentially going to be detected. Again, the King George, if he lands these shells, I don't know if he could eliminate me in one salvo at this point or not, but the HE shells, they do a lot of ship damage in terms of mods and stuff like that, so it's a dangerous situation. But as the smoke's about to run out and, you know, he was getting low anyways, I just decided to gun it and start firing at him, take him out. But another ship does finish him off for us, which is good. Now they do have one ship remaining in the south, which we're not really going to be able to affect. We do have an Elgato here close range. I think this is the guy I torped earlier in the match. And if it is, he's probably not too happy with us. But we're going to try and close in. And I'm using this island as cover to, you know, keeping the island in between the line of sight between me and him. Allow me to close the distance as much as possible. We're going to try and get a close quarters torp strike here. You can see he's taking some evasive maneuvers as soon as I pop up, so I got one in the water just in case he continued along, but I'm going to try and hold the second salvo as long as I can, you know, in terms of this island to the left there. Now I do fire just a tad late, and you'll notice here one of these torps does clip the island. We won't know what he was doing because his our vision's obscured here. He might have been maneuvering so he would have dodged that salvo anyways, but if you can avoid hitting one of your torps into the island like that, it causes a big splash, which is a big red flag saying there's another torp salvo coming in. So that potentially could have alerted him to the fact that there was imminent danger coming his way. Either way, he does a really good job of dodging both of those salvos, so that was well played on his part. At this point, though, he's the last ship, or one ship away from the Kraken, so I'm just going to kind of throw everything we got at him. We do manage to get one fire with a close range HE salvo. And, you know, his main guns aren't pointing this direction. He does have pretty good secondaries on the Nagato, but you'll notice there's the middle sections on fire here. There's either one or two middle sections, depending on if they have the perk limiting it to 3 or 4 fires. But I can't really start that section on fire again, but hitting the aft of the ship, which is pointed directly at us, we do get the second fire, which it's not feeling comfortable there. We do get some more torps in the water, and you know, he played it well, but he gone. So that's a look at the Maass for you guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Again, it's a great ship. But if you did enjoy the video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, you should consider subscribing. A lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions for me, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. Alright, peace.